Hello, welcome to my channel. Before proceeding to study, please subscribe to my channel. Today, we will explore the fascinating world of engineering chemistry. We'll dive into key concepts like electronic spectroscopy, vibrational and rotational spectroscopy of diatomic molecules. Slide 1. Electronic spectroscopy. Today, we'll delve deeper into the world of spectroscopy by focusing on electronic spectroscopy, specifically the absorption of ultraviolet, UV, and visible light by molecules. You might have noticed that some solutions have color. That color arises because the substance in the solution absorbs certain wavelengths of visible light and transmits others. Electronic spectroscopy is based on this principle, but it extends beyond the visible region into the UV. Electronic spectroscopy, UV-vis spectroscopy, is the study of what happens when molecules interact with UV and visible light. This interaction causes electrons within the molecule to jump between different electronic energy levels, much like electrons in atoms can jump between orbitals. Why is this important? The significance lies in the information we can gain. It tells us about the electronic structure of molecules, how the electrons are arranged. It can indicate the presence of conjugated systems, which are alternating single and double bonds. These systems have unique electronic properties and often absorb light in the UV-vis region. Crucially, it's a powerful tool for quantitative analysis, allowing us to determine the concentration of substances in a sample. Think about the example of a colored solution. The color we see is the light that isn't absorbed. The substance is absorbing certain wavelengths of visible light, and this absorption corresponds to electrons in the molecule moving to higher energy levels. Let's define a key term: electronic transitions. These are the movements of electrons from one energy level, or more specifically, one molecular orbital, to another within a molecule. This happens when the molecule absorbs a photon of light that has exactly the right amount of energy to match the energy difference between these electronic levels. These transitions usually involve electrons in the bonding and non-bonding molecular orbitals, which are involved in holding the molecule together. The wavelength and energy of the light absorbed are directly related. Higher energy transitions require higher energy light, which corresponds to shorter wavelengths, towards the UV end of the spectrum. Lower energy transitions involve lower energy light and longer wavelengths, towards the visible end. This relationship is described by the fundamental equation, delta A equals h nu equals hc over lambda. Here, delta A is the energy difference between the electronic levels, h is Planck's constant, a fundamental constant in quantum mechanics, mu is the frequency of the light, c is the speed of light, and lambda is the wavelength of the light. This equation tells us that the energy of a photon is inversely proportional to its wavelength, shorter wavelength, higher energy. Slide 2. Instrumentation for electronic spectroscopy, UV-vis spectrophotometer. To perform electronic spectroscopy, we use an instrument called a UV-vis spectrophotometer. It's designed to shine UV and visible light through a sample and measure how much light is absorbed at different wavelengths. The basic components are 1. Light source. This provides the broad spectrum of UV and visible light needed for the analysis. We typically use two different lamps to cover the entire range: a deuterium lamp for the UV region and a tungsten lamp for the visible region. These lamps emit a continuous range of wavelengths. 2. Monochromator. The light from the source then passes through a monochromator. This is a crucial component that acts as a wavelength selector. It isolates a very narrow band of wavelengths from the broad spectrum of the light source and allows only that specific wavelength to pass through the sample at any given time. This is often achieved using a prism or a diffraction grating. A prism bends different wavelengths of light at different angles, while a diffraction grating separates wavelengths based on interference patterns. 3. Sample holder. the sample being analyzed is placed in a sample holder. For liquid samples in UV-Vis spectroscopy, this is usually a small, transparent container called a cuvette. These cuvettes are typically made of quartz if we are working in the UV region, as glass absorbs UV light, or glass for measurements in the visible region. 4. Detector. After the selected wavelength of light passes through the sample, it reaches the detector. The detector's job is to measure the intensity, brightness, of the light that has passed through. Common detectors include photomultiplier tubes, which are very sensitive to low light levels, and photodiodes, which are semiconductor devices that generate a current proportional to the intensity of the light hitting them. 5. Readout system. Finally, the signal from the detector is processed and displayed by the readout system, which is usually a computer. This system generates the spectrum, which is a graph showing the absorbance, A, or transmittance, T, of the sample as a function of wavelength. Absorbance, A, is a measure of how much light the sample has absorbed at a particular wavelength. It's defined mathematically as A equals log base 10 of I0 over I, where I0 is the intensity of the incident light, the light before it passes through the sample, and I is the intensity of the transmitted light, the light after it has passed through the sample. A higher absorbance value means more light was absorbed. Transmittance, T, is the fraction of the incident light that passes through the sample. It's given by T equals I over I0. Transmittance is often expressed as a percentage. Absorbance and transmittance are related by the equation A equals minus log base 10 of T. So, if a sample transmits 100% of the light, its absorbance is 0. If it transmits 10% of the light, its absorbance is 1. Slide 3. Applications of electronic spectroscopy. Electronic spectroscopy, or UV-Vis spectroscopy, has a wide range of practical applications. 1. Quantitative analysis. One of the most common uses is to determine the concentration of substances in solutions. This is based on the Beer-Lambert law, which states that the absorbance of a solution is directly proportional to the concentration of the analyte and the path length of the light beam through the solution, A equals epsilon Bc. Here, A is the absorbance, epsilon is the molar absorptivity, a constant specific to the substance at a particular wavelength, B is the path length, the width of the cuvette, and C is the concentration. Express. If you have a colored solution of a dye, you can measure its absorbance at a specific wavelength using a UV-Vis spectrophotometer, and using the Beer-Lambert law, you can calculate the exact concentration of the dye. 2. Identification of compounds. While not as definitive as some other spectroscopic techniques, comparing the UV-Vis spectra of an unknown compound with those of known compounds can provide valuable clues about its identity. The wavelengths at which a compound absorbs UV-Vis light and the intensity of these absorptions are characteristic to some extent. We can also infer the presence of specific chromophores, which are functional groups within a molecule that are responsible for UV-Vis absorption. Examples include double bonds, carbonyl groups, C equals O, and aromatic rings. 3. Studying reaction kinetics. UV-Vis spectroscopy can be used to monitor the progress of chemical reactions by tracking the change in concentration of reactants or products that absorb in the UV-Vis region over time. This allows us to determine the rate of the reaction and understand its mechanism. 4. Determining equilibrium constants. For reactions that reach an equilibrium, UV-Vis spectroscopy can be used to measure the concentrations of reactants and products at equilibrium, allowing us to calculate the equilibrium constant K. 5. Analysis of conjugated systems. Molecules with alternating double and single bonds, conjugated systems, have delocalized electrons that can undergo electronic transitions at lower energies, resulting in characteristic absorptions in the UV-Vis region, often extending into the visible region and giving rise to color. Express. Beta-carotene. The pigment that gives carrots their orange color has a long conjugated system of double bonds, which causes it to absorb blue and green light and appear orange to our eyes. 6. Detection of impurities. The presence of impurities in a sample can sometimes be detected by observing unexpected peaks in the UV-Vis spectrum that don't belong to the pure compound. 7. Biochemical analysis. Many biomolecules, such as proteins, due to the presence of aromatic amino acids and nucleic acids, DNA and RNA, have characteristic UV-Vis spectra. This allows us to quantify them and study their interactions. Slide 4. Vibrational spectroscopy of diatomic molecules, infrared spectroscopy. Now, let's shift our focus from electronic transitions to vibrational spectroscopy, specifically looking at diatomic molecules using infrared, IR, spectroscopy. While UV-Vis spectroscopy probes the movement of electrons, IR spectroscopy probes the vibrations of the bonds within a molecule. Vibrational spectroscopy, IR spectroscopy, studies what happens when molecules absorb infrared, IR, radiation. This absorption causes the bonds between atoms in the molecule to vibrate more intensely. Think of the atoms connected by a bond as being like balls connected by a spring. They can stretch, compress, and bend. The significance of IR spectroscopy lies in its ability to provide information about the types of bonds present in a molecule and the functional groups it contains. Different functional groups, like OH, C equals O, CH, have characteristic vibrational frequencies, which appear as peaks in the IR spectrum. This makes IR spectroscopy a powerful tool for identifying the presence of these groups. Express. The OH bond in water absorbs IR light at specific frequencies, causing the water molecules to vibrate in characteristic ways. This absorption is related to how water absorbs heat. For a diatomic molecule, which consists of just two atoms bonded together, there is only one fundamental way the bond can vibrate, stretching along the bond axis, like stretching or compressing the spring between the two balls. Just like electronic energy levels, vibrational energy levels are also quantized. This means that molecules can only vibrate at specific frequencies, corresponding to discrete energy levels. They can't vibrate at just any frequency. However, not all vibrations in all molecules will absorb IR radiation. There's a selection rule for IR absorption. For a diatomic molecule to absorb IR radiation, there must be a change in its dipole moment during the vibration. A dipole moment arises when there is an uneven distribution of electron density in the bond, making one atom slightly more positive and the other slightly more negative. Homonuclear diatomic molecules are those made up of two identical atoms. Because the two atoms are the same, there is no permanent dipole moment. And more importantly, there is no change in dipole moment when the bond stretches or compresses. Therefore, homonuclear diatomic molecules are IR inactive. They do not absorb IR radiation due to vibrational transitions. Heteronuclear diatomic molecules are those made up of two different atoms, e.g., HCl, Colorado. These molecules have a permanent dipole moment due to the difference in electronegativity between the two atoms. When the bond in a heteronuclear diatomic molecule vibrates, the magnitude of this dipole moment changes. This change in dipole moment allows the molecule to interact with the oscillating electric field of the IR radiation and absorb energy. Thus, heteronuclear diatomic molecules are IR active. Slide 5. Rotational spectroscopy of diatomic molecules, microwave spectroscopy. Finally, let's consider rotational spectroscopy, which for diatomic molecules typically involves the absorption of microwave radiation. This technique probes the changes in the rotational energy levels of molecules. Think of a diatomic molecule as a tiny dumbbell spinning in space. Rotational spectroscopy, microwave spectroscopy, studies how molecules absorb microwave radiation, causing them to rotate faster. The significance of microwave spectroscopy, particularly for simple molecules like the atomics, is that it can provide very precise information about the bond lengths and overall molecular geometry. The rotational properties of a molecule are directly related to its size and shape. Express: when a carbon monoxide (CO) molecule absorbs microwave radiation of a specific frequency, it transitions to a higher rotational energy state, meaning it spins faster. By precisely measuring these absorption frequencies, we can determine the county bond length very accurately. Similar to electronic and vibrational energies, rotational energy levels are also quantized. A molecule can only rotate at specific frequencies, corresponding to discrete energy levels. For a diatomic molecule, these energy levels are given by the equation A sub j equals h squared over 8 pi squared I multiplied by j j plus 1, which is also equal to B multiplied by j plus 1. Let's break down this equation. A sub j is the rotational energy of the molecule in the jth rotational energy level. H is Planck's constant. I is the moment of inertia of the molecule, which is a measure of its resistance to changes in rotation. It depends on the masses of the atoms and the square of the distance between them, the bond length, r. For a diatomic molecule, I equals mu r squared, where mu is the reduced mass, a way of representing the effective mass of the two-atom system, and r is the bond length. So, by determining I from the microwave spectrum, we can calculate the bond length r. J is the rotational quantum number, which can take integer values of 0, 1, 2, and so on. These numbers label the different rotational energy levels. B is the rotational constant, which is related to the moment of inertia by B equals h squared over 8 pi squared I. There's also a selection rule for microwave absorption. For a diatomic molecule to absorb microwave radiation and undergo a rotational transition, it must possess a permanent dipole moment. This is because the rotating dipole moment of the molecule can interact with the oscillating electric field of the microwave radiation. Heteronuclear diatomic molecules, e.g., HCl, Colorado, have a permanent dipole moment due to the difference in electronegativity between the two different atoms. As these molecules rotate, their dipole moment changes its orientation in space, allowing them to interact with microwave radiation and absorb energy. Hence, heteronuclear diatomic molecules are microwave active, and their microwave spectra can be used to determine their bond lengths with high precision.